Hi Kitchen Kings and Queens. Okay, today we're going to try something a little different. I'm going to do kind of a what did I get this week? As you may have seen in my last video, I wasn't feeling well, so I didn't do very much thrift store shopping except on Saturday. But I did get some things in the mail that I got from eBay. I'm going to start with this because it's kind of blocking me in. So, and then my boxes I'll just kind of put off to the side. But this is from a German hotel company called HEP. It's a silver plate, 3-tier, I guess, serving tower. And it's really beautiful. It's a really high quality company. It's very hard to find in the United States. And I was very excited to get it. The only problem is, I don't know if the camera can pick this up, it's a little dented on this bottom part. The bottom tier is a little dented. I asked the seller, it must have gotten dented in transit, so I'm going to have to try and straighten that out carefully, and then I'll polish this up. And I've been really looking for this because when I have a buffet, this can really save a lot of space, because these plates are huge. Okay, they really can hold a lot of stuff. So I wasn't even expecting it to be this big, so it was a very pleasant surprise. So once I get it all shined up and straightened out, then I'll hopefully be able to use it for my next party. I actually tried to use it for the party that I had this past weekend, previous weekend, right before I got sick. But unfortunately, that didn't. There wasn't anything really that needed to be on there. There wasn't any sort of dishes that kind of were individual things. But this is a great item, and I'm very excited for it. So I want to take that down and put that on the floor here. Then I'm gonna switch over to this area. This is gonna be a project that I'm gonna show you. I don't know. I don't think these came from the same place. These two may have, but this is a French company, and these things, it was as if somebody used them like in an open fire or something, or had a fire in the pans. So they're pretty rough shape, but they are extremely high-end brands, and I got great deals for them. This lid is from Matfer Bourget, and they are very hard to find. So whenever I find a random lid, even though I don't have a pot this size, there are some things that I'm keeping my eyes on that don't have the lids. And oftentimes, these items from this company don't have the lids with them. So it's good to just kind of have a little stock of lids. And I have that for all my collections of pots and pans. That may seem excessive. It's probably not necessary. But for me as a collector, it's nice to have it. But this lid is in rough shape. It needs to be shined. It needs to be clean. So I'm going to do videos on cleaning these items. And you'll see a couple different items are in need of some TLC. And that's kind of the fun of buying things used, is that you can take something like this and you could turn it back into a showpiece and increase its value. Because the people that had these pans were probably like, it looks like junk, I don't want to do that. I'll just try and sell it. And that's what they did. And I'm going to put in the hard work to bring this back to life. Okay? This is also a good lesson in heat, because the people that use these pans, this is a German company made in Germany called Fissler. And those, I'm going to adjust my mic here a little bit. Let's see, where should I I feel like I'm brushing it a lot, so I'll put it over there. This company, this is their professional line, and it is very heavy gauge stainless steel, and then there's a huge, thick, very thick, probably one of the thickest, if not the thickest, aluminum bases encapsulated on the bottom. So this is really heavy duty cookware. It's very expensive, it's very high quality, and it doesn't need high heat, okay? It is induction safe, but this is really designed for induction. There's a little like spider web pattern on here. Maybe I'll show you it because it's right next to me. Here. They actually made a cooktop, a coordinating tabletop cooktop from a company made in Germany called Casso, and it's like it has the same pattern. So it really is designed, this cookware, for induction cookware. You can use it for other cookware types. It's safe for all the other cookware types or cooking stove types, but it's really designed for the induction. And I'm sure somebody used this on an electric or a gas burner, and they were using very high heat, and that's why they burn, because you really need low to medium, if that, heat. Okay, so that was my cookware for the week. So put that down. Then I got some random pieces. Okay, so these I use all the time in when I do the cooking episodes, because I like to have the ingredients out. That way you don't have to see me bothering, chopping, this, that, or other thing. It just saves time. It also is part of a French cooking called mise en place. Everything is in its place, basically, is what that means. So when you start to cook, you have everything ready at your hand so that you can just go through the recipe. And since I've been doing these videos, that's how I've been cooking. Usually when I'm cooking just for myself, I'm just grabbing what I need. And let me tell you, mise en place really does work. So if you want to be a better cook or chef, depending on where you're at, but if you're a chef, you definitely practice mise en place. But if you want to be a better cook, make sure you have all the ingredients at hand. And these little glass bowls, and they come in a variety of sizes. They come in big sets where they're, like a Russian nesting dolls, and they're great. But they're randomly at the thrift stores, and there were a lot more, but they were kind of high priced. I kind of had a little bit of money, so I wanted to be a little bit more selective with what I was spending on. So I got a lot less than I would have had I had a little bit more money. And they're just, they're just stacked up, and I just grab them and grab the size that I need, and they're great. So I got one of them, and then this, super random, looks like a funnel. This is a part for the squeezo, which is the tomato strainer. I got another one, and that one is missing the funnel, and that funnel is actually this plastic funnel as opposed to the metal funnel that the other ones had. So that one's not made by Bertucci, that's made by Vitantonio, which is another company that made similar things, and they wound up being the survivor. And they bought actually a lot of the, I guess the molds probably from Bertucci and their product lines, and they kind of had them as a sub-line called Bibo. Berarducci Brothers, Bebo, that they would have through their line. Okay, so that was just a random purchase. Then, this is one of my obsessions, metal items. There's this little metal tray there. It was, what, $1.99 maybe. And it's made in Denmark. It's a nice size, a nice shape. I have so many of these. Most of these were made by a Danish manufacturers, Swedish manufacturers, and then the real fine ones, the finest ones, were made in Germany by a company called WMF. And they're still in existence, but they don't make as much as they in Germany now. But they're still a well-known and well-respected German housewares. They're, in fact, the most respected. And interestingly enough, they bought HEP too. So HEP is now part of WMF. But this is made in Denmark. It just says stainless steel Denmark. So I'm not sure what company it was that made it, but they're just very nice trays. They're very nice ways to serve things. I have a whole assortment of sizes and shapes, and these were really big sellers in like the 50s and definitely into the 60s. And these companies exploded and made a ton of these products, both in Denmark and Sweden as well as in the US. They were very well received here. So that's one thing I got. I got this is a Vollrath. These are called hotel pants. If you ever see these are really good to have. They're good because they are made of stainless steel. If you have a chafing dish, they fit in the chafing dish. They're really durable. Vollrath is the gold standard of these hotel pants. So if you find a Vollrath one, and this is actually a very old one, and it's in nearly perfect condition. So you really, I use these for storing leftovers. You can bake in them. I don't do that because they get really gross and dirty that way, but that's how they're used in restaurants. Okay, so they are used as a baking pan and serving pan and holding pan. They sit on grills to keep things warm. They are used in every manner of food preparation, service, storage in a restaurant. They take a piece of cling film really nicely. They're just really great pans to have. So if you find these and you find the Vollrath ones, pick them up. They're worth it. They'll often be called Super Pan, Vollrath Super Pan, and they have, I think they're up to line 6 now, Super Pan 6. But Vollrath just innovates the best. They have the best stainless steel. They have the best innovations of anti-jamming, because sometimes, like these ones, they were before the anti-jam. So what would happen is if you stack them into each other, which they do, sometimes they'll jam and you'll have to kind of really pry them out. You don't have to do those with the newer versions of the Super Pan. They have anti-jam elements, which means that they put a little nub here so that they stack. And you could kind of feel there's a little bit there. So they were kind of getting into that idea, but they didn't quite have it totally done. Okay. Then I found this sheet pan, like a cookie sheet. This is probably actually meant to be used as a griddle on a range across 2 burners. I'm going to use it as a cooking sheet or a baking sheet, just because it's really heavy gauge aluminum. It's from Northland heavy duty aluminum, made in the USA. I've never heard of that company, but it is really thick gauge aluminum. So when I do my pots and pans video, I'm also going to do cleaning aluminum, because there's a different process for cleaning and caring for aluminum as there is to stainless steel. You could be a little harsher with the stainless steel. There's also different cleaning products that are a little bit more useful. Then I found a USA pan. It's used. It's got a couple of dings in it. It's got a couple of like color stains in there. This happens with use with these USA pans, especially if you don't clean them right away. You should clean your bakeware immediately after using, and it'll keep it looking brand new. But if you leave it, it will look like this. It doesn't stop it from being as good as the clean USA pan. The non-stick capabilities of the corrugation and that clear silicone coating do not get diminished by leaving it like this, but they don't look as nice. And eventually those things do, the non-stick won't stick, but the food will start sticking to these stuck on food particles. That's what this is, this grease and stuff like that. So it will inadvertently make it not as non-stick because of the grime that's on the pan. Not because the pan is non-stick. It's that the grease is creating an anti-non-stick environment. Okay. I guess I'll go to this rando thing. Okay, so I found this random container. It was on sale. Actually, I thought it was on sale. It wasn't the color that was on sale. It was another one very similar. So, but it was cheap enough that I bought it, and I really wanted it. And I wanted it for this, because once you open a coffee bean, like a whole bean, or even a what's it called, ground coffee, you want to immediately put it in a airtight container, okay? And this is, can't lose any of this coffee. This is very good. This is from Philadelphia. This is what I used to use when I had my coffee shop. I actually went to the roasting facility in Port Richmond in Philadelphia. I got the 10-cent tour and got to see. It's a really cool company. They were developing the process for their now famous cold brew, and it was like all these different processes that they were developing. It was a really cool place. So anyway, the bag is air free. So when you get them out of the bag, when the bag is open, you have to make sure that you keep them in a not air free container. Now I have a lot of those OXO pop containers, but I don't know, there's just not the right size for the coffee. I need something kind of slim. This just screamed to me that it was like the perfect item. And it's natural, it's got the cork. So there's my coffee beans in the, that's what I got that for. Okay, and then the last thing before we start doing our opening, actually, that's not true. Let's do this one. I also got a great deal on a case of cappuccino cups. Okay, so these are the Italian brand. They're called IPA, and there's 12 of them in there. They're the cappuccino size, which is perfect for what I'm looking for. I also didn't realize this, but I actually have a whole box, a random box of saucers. So that's perfect because they will match up. So I'll have now 12 cappuccino cups and saucers. Okay, last before we do our openings. These, I'm going to take this out, this out, because these were just random things, okay? These are things that came along with this. But this is the stuff that I'm actually looking for. And one of the things, I'll just start with this one. This is called a serve and spoon, okay? It is like a spatula, but it's kind of bent, and it's got a sharp edge here. Not really sharp, but a kind of tapered edge to like a little bit of a blade. That's used to cut and then serve. This company was called Ace Utensils. They were made in Chalfont, Pennsylvania, which is right up by where I grew up. And they are excellent. There's like one that's like a spoon that's slotted, and then it has like a cutting edge on it. What's the other one? Oh, the fork. There's a big fork that has like big tines, but it also could be like a spatula too. So they made these great multi-service utensils. The rest of these items are all Flint Echo, which you talked about if you saw the Echo cookware video. That company was a juggernaut. They made exceptionally good utensils. These utensils are the highest gauge, finest steel. They use vanadium in their stainless steel mixture. They used a really very high quality, heavy duty, hard Bakelite. And as long as you don't crack them, like this one unfortunately is cracked. They made me buy this one. I'll just sell it because I don't want that one. But what made me laugh was there was a guy that was digging through the boxes. He was literally took over the whole aisle, was taking the boxes of utensils, dumping them into the bin, picking through them, looking for silver. Now, whatever he found in silver, I saw in his hand, he had maybe 4 or 5 pieces of silver in his hand. If he had taken these, which were 99 cents, he could have sold these on eBay for at least $20. If he shined them up like I would do, he could get more than that. These are very collectible. They're extremely collectible because they're very durable. They'll last forever. They're better than any utensils you could buy in the store. They're high quality and they're really nice stuff. So, you know, I guess one man's trash is another man's treasure, but that guy was looking for fool's gold, in my opinion. But, you know, everyone's there for something. Alright, so, this is going to be, now we're going to do kind of like a unboxing, I guess. I don't know, I'm new to all this goofy internet stuff, but I do have some things that I do want to share with you. Okay, so this I didn't think was going to come till next week because I literally just ordered it. But this is, I'm getting into doing some, what's it called? Like sourdough baking. This is from a company called Breadtopia, and the cool thing about this is they actually developed and made this. Okay, so in this box we have the liners. Now the liners are not made in the U.S. Okay, but these bowls are, and these are a new innovation by this company, by Breadtopia, okay? And these are called banneton, okay? And they are these bowls that you let the bread proof in, okay? If the bread is not sticky, you can just proof it naturally in this bowl. But if it is sticky, you need these liners. These what are they? I guess they're like a linen or cotton liner to line the bottom of your banneton. Okay, and then they allow for the dough to easily come out. So you would use this if you did those no-knead breads. Now, according to their website, you don't need to use these for these composite bowls that they made. So they had these bowls specially developed, these baskets. Usually the baskets are made of rattan, and they are, just like that. But the problem with that is they're very hard to clean if they're made with rattan. And that was what this company, why they developed this. So that way, these could be washed in the dishwasher, they could be washed and get wet and dry, because rattan is a natural material, while this is a mixture of natural and composite materials. So it's also not just like a plant material, like a raw plant material that like rattan is. So that was their development. So these are made in the USA. The other ones, the normal traditional ones, those are not made in the USA. And these are probably the only ones that are made in the USA. So that's where my American Kitchen Cub comes from, because I am a big proponent of buying things made in the USA, which goes to my last item. Okay? So we'll talk more about that when we use them to bake. Okay. All right. This is a sad story. Okay. So we're gonna open this up, and we're gonna look at this new cast iron, enamel cast iron pan that I got, or pot, Dutch oven. Okay, so we're gonna take this out, and we're gonna put this aside. And while we're looking at this, I'm gonna tell you the sad story of this pot. Okay, so this pot is made by a company called Lodge. And if you have any cast iron in your house, black cast iron, it's probably Lodge. Lodge is the most well-known American manufacturer of cast iron. It's beautiful cast iron. They've gone above and beyond in processes. They've developed pre-seasoned cast iron, so you get Lodge cast iron and it is ready to use. You don't have to go through what your grandparents had to go through to season it. It just works right out of the box. And that love of cast iron led them to an experiment. They wanted to become the first company to make enameled cast iron in the United States. Okay? Even before everything started getting imported from China and Asia. And most of the enameled cast iron comes from China, with obviously the exceptions of Le Creuset and Stode. Those are the big European manufacturers that make their products in France. And this was never really made in the United States. It was a very European process. It was a very European idea to enamel cast iron. So even when enameled cast iron first came to the United States, it came from Holland. That's where we get the Dutch oven. And it came from France. So those were where they made this enameled cast iron. Lodge had enameled cast iron, but it was made in China. And they didn't like that. They wanted to support their community in Tennessee, and they wanted to develop a factory and a process to do it here. This is the product of that dream. Okay? Notice, I don't know if you could see it, there's a beautiful swoop in the center of this cast iron pan. That swoop is hearkening back to the cars of the 1950s, the peak of American design. Same thing with this knob, okay? So all of this was meant to be an homage to American design and manufacturing. They spent extreme amounts of money to get this thing to market. I mean, extreme amounts of money. And that money was really boondoggled by COVID, because they had finally gotten this factory up and running and the lines fixed and the processes ironed out so that this thing was running perfectly, and COVID happened and they had to shut it down and they couldn't market it, and they missed out on getting all these pieces to market during the time when everyone was at home baking, cooking, baking in a freaking Dutch oven. Okay, that was the 2020 thing to do. Bake bread in a Dutch oven. No knead bread. Again, like these. No knead bread that you would just mix and dump and proof in a cast iron enameled pan. So finally the line got up. Everyone forgot about Buy American. Everyone forgot about quality and things like that. And the price was too expensive. And the price was too expensive next to their cheap Chinese imported products that also had Lodge on there. To me, in my opinion, that was probably the biggest mistake that they made, in my opinion, was that they had this alongside of their imported products in enameled cast iron. They also had beautiful colors in their imported enamel. In the USA line, they had red, white, and blue. which is great. It's beautiful, and I hope to get each size in each color. I think I may be too late because there's no more of that color. There's only one color in that, so I'm kind of stuck with that. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But they're shutting down that line. I don't know if they're going to ever make enamel cookware in the United States anymore. Probably not, because it's not supported by Americans. Another thing that I think they kind of missed out on, they didn't market. They didn't. Well, I don't know that they could have, because the whole cooking show craze was kind of over by the time this came to market. But if they had sent out a bunch of these to the Food Network and had them using them, that might have gotten these into the eyes of the consumers. The other thing is, me being one of them, when it comes to enamel cast iron, I'm really, really committed to Le Creuset. That's the gold standard. My family has gotten Le Creuset on both sides my entire life. So that, when I think of cast iron, enamel cast iron, I think of Le Creuset. But if they had just kind of had these, maybe even in Williams-Sonoma, I didn't see it in there the last time I was there, but that might have been, like, this is a premium product, and it needs to be alongside of other premium products and in the space. I think they were hoping that the regular old run-of-the-mill average American would be going out to buy this. Unfortunately, the economics of that are that most average Americans don't have the luxury to buy a $300 pot. So they're going to buy your imported Chinese one that's at a lower price point and has a range of colors because that's what they can afford and that's what matches their decor. So I don't know. This is a very sad story because I love supporting American manufacturers. I'm going to get all 3 of the sizes of this. I'm very sad that they're getting rid of them. I hope they find a way to bring it back, but I don't know. I'm very saddened by manufacturing in the United States. It just doesn't seem like Americans value quality. Everything's about quantity and what I can get for the lowest price. It doesn't matter if it's good quality. I can buy 20 of them for the price that I could buy one of these. So, that's just my little spiel here. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to try and do these more often. I think it might be fun. It's a nice way for me to kind of show you some of the things and maybe kind of give you a little preview of some things that we're going to be doing later, like doing some baking and things like that. But I'm very excited about this pot. I can't wait to get the other ones. I'll put a link to the video that shows the whole story. There's a little mini documentary that they made about this pan and all the snafus that it came to. The video kind of ends with it coming to market, but unfortunately that's not where the video, or that's not where the story ends in this case. But anyway, it's a beautiful pot and I can't wait to use it. Bye for now, Kitchen Kings and Queens.